Hello everyone! If you're like me, you probably love music, love scores, love opening a new score for the first time and exploring a piece of music, or maybe refamiliarizing yourself with an old favorite. But there are many editions out there, especially for classical works, and it's not always easy to tell what kind of score you're getting. So hopefully this video can shed some light onto your next score purchase. Without further ado, let's begin. Today we have two volumes related to Gustav Holst's The Planets, which is of course a beautiful and striking and very influential piece of music, not only on classical and concert music composers, but also film scores as well. And for size comparison, we have a standard number 2 Ticonderoga pencil, as you might use in rehearsal. The first item we're looking at is a Cambridge Music Handbook to go along with the score. Now, some of the reviews I've read online have described this as a good companion piece, but leaves you wanting more. And actually, even just looking at the book now, I can tell you that does not surprise me. If you look at our size comparison here, you can tell that this is a rather small volume, fairly slim. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad companion piece, though, but it might not be the only reference work you might consider looking at. So the organization of the book appears to be first a historical context and then a section-by-section analysis of the piece, which I think is an excellent approach to any analysis of a piece of work, starting with a general context and then moving on to study the score itself. So just from looking through the book very quickly, it does look like there is a large portion of the first part of the book spent in historical context. The analysis section at the end is a little bit less than half the book by the looks of it. Not terribly sparse, but slightly sparse on musical examples from just a first glance. But at the very end, there are some charts looking at things like historical tempos and contrasting different performances, which is a level of detail you don't always find and speaks potentially to the rigor and value of this particular work. So first impressions, maybe a little bit short, maybe a little bit small, but certainly potentially a very good companion piece for an initial understanding of Holst the Planets. And now we move on to the score itself. So this is a Dover edition, as these often do. It advertises itself as a lay-flat binding. And this one actually lays a little bit closer to flat than many of the ones that I've looked at recently. It still isn't perfect, but certainly once the spine cracks, it will most likely lay perfectly flat. And even now, there's a wide enough margin along the spine of the pages that you can easily see the entire score. The paper is a little bit thin. It has almost a newsprint quality to it. It's not terribly so. You're not going to tear through it as you're writing on it, but it doesn't feel quite as substantial as some of the other volumes I've looked at recently. Also, from the very first page, you can see that the reprint is not the best. So there is some fading on the lines of the individual staffs. The print is a little bit light. And it's hard to say if this is just something that is a byproduct of Dover's reprint or if this is because of the quality of the original score that they're working from. In either case, though, it is not unusable, but not 100% satisfying to open up the first page and see that it is not perfectly crisp. And unfortunately, it does seem to be about that same quality of printing and engraving throughout. The layout is perfectly fine. It certainly is readable, but it does look a little bit less than crystal clear on the page. Speaking of the layout, though, I think this is a good one. The staves have enough space for some small notation in between, and there's plenty of room around the music itself to make annotations generally. The sizing of the page is good. It's not overly large, but it's large enough that you can very easily, even with a full orchestra, see all the parts, read the music very efficiently, very quickly, and very clearly. And there's really not much more to say. It's certainly a usable score. The paper is a little bit thin, but you're not going to tear through it. The layout is good. The printing leaves something to be desired, but is certainly not unusable or necessarily distracting, just a little bit unfortunate that it is slightly faded or worn in some places. And that, as they say, is that. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If either of these two volumes you believe you would like to purchase for yourself, I will provide links in the description to their Amazon pages. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.